Hey everybody, Jason here. Welcome to Listography. We've got Joe and Kramzer with me today. Today we are talking about The Police, 5 studio albums. So if anyone out there saw our Eagles video, you will know that we don't always see eye to eye on these bands. Joe and myself like the Eagles a good bit. Cram, not so much. And it's going to be a similar story today, except the dissenting opinion is my own. Not a big fan of The Police. But even though I never really got into the Police, never really liked them, recently I started hearing some of their songs that I was familiar with, and started feeling like, maybe they aren't so bad, and that maybe getting into their discography, would be a good exercise in trying to, open my mind a little and get into something that maybe I previously wouldn't have liked. So I have good intentions coming into this. I guess we'll see how that turned out as we get into the album by album.
Sure, I'll start it off. I've always liked the Police a good bit. I do think that they are a better group as a whole than kind of an album standing on its own, except for maybe some of the ones at my top. The thing that defines them to me is just a really unique sound, which is my favorite thing about them. I don't think that Sting is a great singer. I definitely like his mid-range to lower range more. I don't really like his high stuff. To me, the band is all Stuart Copeland. If you took them out, they would be kind of just blended in more with the categories of new wave and punk. So he's what makes them stand out to me. So my number 5 is going to be Reggatta de Blanc. I don't think this one has a lot of really good songwriting, just to put it bluntly. There are some really good tracks on it. I like Bring on the Night, Message in a Bottle, and Contact disappears here. I don't really know what the motivation for a lot of this is. That said, I do think we kind of misinterpret the Police a lot. I do think they're more of a jam band than we realize. They've got kind of that lazy, casual reggae sound. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think on this album, it doesn't work because the laziness just kind of translates into lack of effort, to be honest. The songs don't really feel completed. I don't think it's a very good album, and I really like the Police, so it pains me to say that this is a lousy album, but it's a lousy album, except for a couple of the songs that I said. I love the sound. I love, the drum work. He's a master of the hi-hat. I like that thin tin sort of single string playing of Andy Summers, but the songs just aren't that good. Sorry, guys.
You nailed it. You took all the words right out of my mouth. My 5th place, and really the only one where I kind of just knew like this is the worst one. Reggatta de Blanc. Some of the songs like start out kind of like, okay, this could be cool. And then they just don't go anywhere. It's that kind of noodly sound. Other than Walking on the Moon, Bring on the Night, and Message in a Bottle, everything else just feels unfinished. Like they just weren't interested in creating a complete song. They just wanted to kind of noodle around, jam around a little bit. The reggae it's a little too much, and it does lose what I really liked about the debut album, which is that kind of punky rawness. And it doesn't work for me. It's really the only one that I don't like, I think, of their discography.
Good to know that as a newbie that I'm, right in line with some actual fans. Reggatta de Blanc is also my number 5. I started out listening to the first record and thinking, not bad. If things improve from here, I might end up becoming a little bit of a Police fan. And then I got to this record and I hated every single second of it. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Everything I don't like about the Police is super prevalent. The main reasons I don't like the Police, I would say, are Sting's voice, which I find it particularly irritating on this record. I don't like not just their version of reggae, but I don't like reggae at all. And there's a lot of it. I think this has the most of reggae influence. It's in the name of the record. Not even trying to cover up the cultural appropriation. They're just putting it right out there. And it's horrible. And even concessions that I would make towards the Police, like saying, like, I recognize and fully appreciate the greatness of Stuart Copeland's drumming. I found listening to this record that he just irritated the hell out of me. He overplays a ton, and I really can't stand it. And I will say that continues for several more albums. So the side 3 list was a difficult one for me to put together.
Credibility lost.
I still recognize that he's technically good, but I just don't like the way he plays.
Okay. Well, what is the saving grace for Reggatta de Blanc not making me want to kill myself was Stuart Copeland. My number 4 is Outlandos d'Amour, the debut. Really good record. I like it a lot. I love the kind of youth of it. They sound like the best high school garage band you've ever seen. There's like too much urgency in the songs, and they're played like a little too fast, but it works. I love the interplay and the gamesmanship in it. The songs are like complex but constructed in a really simple manner, and just kind of throw out these catchphrases, but you know, they're about more than what they're leading on. It seems like they're smarter than the record they're putting out, which I really like. I like the slide guitar on Next to You, and So Lonely is an awesome reggae tune. The laziness kind of works here. They're like on purpose being like this kind of shallow mockery of a pop band, but in their own style. It really works. It's got that raw sound to it, kind of sloppy. I think it works. I love Can't Stand Losing You. Truth Hits Everybody. I do really hate Born in the 50s, especially the way Sting sings it. I don't know. His voice sounds really thick. Doesn't sound like this on any other song, and I don't think it works. And Peanuts is a really underrated song. It's about Rod Stewart and kind of him falling out of love with Rod Stewart. But, you know, I think this is a really good debut record, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's a great album. It's way higher on my list. My number 4 is going to be Zenyatta Mondatta, which is another one. I think I came into listening to The Police again kind of with the idea this would be my 4th. And not that it's bad. I really like it. But I just don't think the highs are quite as high as some of the other albums. For me, Police, I sometimes struggle with their albums because they are so kind of all over the place. Like there's the sublime, and then there's the kind of like, why would you put this on here? And Zenyatta Mondatta kind of definitely has both. You have Don't Stand So Close to Me, which is great. Do, da, 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 which is a good little pop song. But then it has 2 instrumentals, which kind of just like kill the vibe for me. It just feels maybe, and I mean, tracks like Shadows in the Rain, the other Man in a Suitcase, don't really work for me. I really like Driven to Tears and When the World is Running Down, You Make the Best of What's Around. The first half, I think the first side would be, I guess, I think is really strong, but then it kind of loses momentum, and I just don't, you know, it doesn't have my favorite songs by them. Listening to their greatest hits is usually sufficient for me. I really don't need to delve into kind of the B-sides and the album tracks so much. But I like the album. It's just not quite the level where the other 3 are.
Number 4 for me is also Zenyatta Mondatta. Pretty much all the same issues I had with Reggatta de Blanc. However, there's a couple songs that I don't mind on this record, including the only song by The Police that I fully enjoy with no reservations at all. I'll leave that to the next episode to reveal which one that is. Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 songs on here that I think are okay, and the rest of it I hate.
Fair enough. I agree with what Joe was saying, how, you know, their albums are a bit challenging. I like 4 of the 5 albums. Like Joe, I don't really like Reggatta de Blanc. But still, even of the 4 I like, I only think 1 has like a really good vision, you know, start to stop kind of cohesiveness to it. Everything else does kind of seem all over the place. And, you know, I hate people that only listen to greatest hits and don't get into albums. But, you know, The Police are kind of like a singles and greatest hits band to me as well. But I do think they have more songs that aren't that on the radar than people give them credit for. But I get what Joe's saying. My number 3 is Zenyatta Mondatta. I do think they're starting to get a little sharper, and they're not kind of segregating the songs as much. They're all kind of blending into their sound more. You know, I think early on, and especially on Reggatta de Blanc, they're like, we have pop songs, we have the jam instrumentals, we have our reggae songs, and here they're starting to come together a little more, and it makes just a better overall quality. More variety, not in the sound. I don't really think any of the first 3 albums, except for kind of the rawness of the first one, sound that different. You know, they're never really experimenting with a lot of new instruments and stuff. So the variety here comes in the arrangements. They're starting to address politics a little more. I really like Don't Stand So Close to Me, Driven to Tears. Love Canary is a Coal Mine is kind of a smiley, upbeat song. You know, it's Sting spitting a little bit. I kind of dig that. Like the the vibe on that guitar is awesome, and Bombs Away is really cool, but they've got better stuff coming out. But I think this is where they start to find themselves a little bit.
All right. Well, the next three, the three remaining albums, is very difficult for me to kind of place. Ghost in the Machine is going to be my number 3. It's tough for me to do this because as important a song is, I mean, the most important song in my musical life is Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. It is the song that got me into music completely. Sour Girl by Stone Temple Pilots, which we explored last week or so, got me listening to new music, and Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic got me kind of back into music after years of just ignoring it. I would listen to the radio all day just to hear the song. So it's a really just a awesome pop song. I love it. I love Invisible Sun. I love Spirits in the Material World. And then there's like 5 tracks that sound exactly the same, have a weird kind of too much reggae again, and it just doesn't work. Hungry for You, Demolition Man, Too Much Information, Rehumanize Yourself, One World Not Three, just don't do anything for me. And then Omega Man, Secret Journey, and Darkness are all awesome. I love those 3 tracks. Sandwiched in between are just a bunch of tracks I don't care for. All the playing is great, the drum's great. I don't mind Sting, I don't mind his voice. I think he's a really good bass player, very interesting kind of texture. So I really like this album, but it's another one where I wish like half the tracks weren't on the album. So unfortunately, it drops down to number 3 for me.
Man, Joe, we could have the exact same list, only 2 away. My number 3 is also Ghost in the Machine. This record doesn't really have the tracks that I like as much as Zenyatta Mondatta does, but it also, I don't hate it. I find it to be pretty just boring and forgettable. That's really all I have to say about it.
All right, getting into number 2, I've got Synchronicity. I think this is like their big pop album. It's got some really standout, awesome tracks on it. Both, you know, Synchronicity and Synchronicity 2, King of Pain, Every Breath You Take, Wrapped Around Your Finger, Tea in the Sahara. And that concludes all of the songs I like off of it. All of the other stuff is weird filler. Walking in Your Footsteps has that weird pan flute and like world music feel to it. And Mother is okay. Biggest problem I have with this album is the track order is completely confusing to me. It blows my mind the order they put these songs in. You start strong with Synchronicity, and then you put 3 weird songs with down tempos that just drown you in kind of boredom. I don't get it. I mean, I have it at number 2 because of the strength of the highlights, but you know, putting Walking in Your Footsteps as the second song in the album is so bizarre to me. Like, especially because the whole album kind of has a pop approach to it. So it blows my mind that no one was like, you really guys really think this is a good idea? But apparently they did. I mean, it's very rare that all of your singles come in like number 6, 7, and 8 on an album for a group that by now is a pop group, a very popular group. It just confuses the hell out of me. But, you know, a lot of the songs are really good. So it's a number 2 for me for sure.
Also my number 2, Synchronicity. Yeah. Kramzer nailed it again. He knows his police. It's just so inconsistent. You know, you have in my opinion, some of the best songs written in the 80s, some of the best pop music of the 80s juxtaposed with these like weird kind of, I don't even know what to call them. They're like little soundscapes, little experiments that just do nothing for me. I will skip from after Synchronicity 1, I'm probably going straight to Synchronicity 2. I'm just ignoring those kind of weird, just bizarre that they got included on this album. And I think Every Breath You Take, King of Pain, Wrapped Around Your Finger are as good as people think they are. I think they're fantastic. So it's good. It's very, very high and very, very low. So
my number 2, also Synchronicity. Joe and I have the exact same list. This one, I don't really love too many of the songs on it, but it bothers me less than some of their other records. I think Stuart Copeland's drumming is more restrained, more tasteful. Some of the songs, I guess, are decent. Synchronicity 2 is pretty cool. I can tolerate that. This record doesn't bother me, so it's number 2.
Well, Jason, as a guy that appreciates songcraft, I don't know how you can't love Every Breath You Take and King of Pain and stuff. But you do you, buddy.
I will say about their songwriting, and it bothers me, there's at least 3 or 4 songs on almost every record that they do this on. They have these verses that just take left turns into like dramatically different choruses, and I hate that. It's like they had 2 ideas and didn't know how to put them together, and they were like, oh, well, guess that's the song.
Whatever. All right, so number 1 for me, I think this is a great album. Ghosts in the Machine. I think this is their most cohesive unit. I disagree that a lot of the stuff in the middle sounds the same. I don't know how you could say that when Hungry for You is in French, for God's sakes. So I like Demolition Man, Omega Man, all that stuff. But the strength is in the first 3 tracks. They're awesome. It's so tight the way they're playing on Spirits in a Material World. Absolutely love it. It's got, I think it's their most homogenized and mature album. There's actually some passion here. They really only have a lot of passion in kind of the love songs, I think. This one has it all over the place with sort of the, contemporary, societal nature of their criticism and the politics of it. Finally kind of doing this harmony layering of Sting's voice, which I think helps him greatly. Really a lot of cool new crowded noise. The guitar tones are still thin, but the full sound is there. More keyboards. I think it's an awesome album all the way through. Really cool tight cross rhythms, kind of combative time signatures, which they've done before, but I think they're really, really tight here. And Every Little Thing She Does Magic is one of the best pop love songs ever written. The piano part's absolutely beautiful. It's a great album. My number 1. It was kind of an easy choice. I thought for a second, it has always been Ghost in the Machine, but I was like, when I sit down and listen to these 5 records, I feel like Synchronicity might give it a run for its money. And then 3 songs into Synchronicity, I was like, no. So my number 1, Ghost in the Machine.
Well, my number 1, there's only 1 left. We got Outlandos de Amor, sort of a Anglophile. Outlaws of Love is what it means, I guess. Whatever. They were a weird kind of bratty, punky band in the beginning, taking things, appropriating reggae and punk and whatever else. But I think this album, even if it doesn't have the heights of Synchronicity or Ghost in the Machine, is just the best all the way through. There's no tracks on here that I dislike, I think. Kind of the first 4 or 5 tracks have a real, just, that raw, punk-y kind of energy. It doesn't quite dip into the reggae pool so much as they would on Reggatta de Blanc. Next to You, So Lonely, Roxanne, all just kind of set the tone really well. I like the drumming. I like the guitar work on this album maybe the most because it probably stands out the most to me, even if it's a little simpler, it's a little louder, a little brasher. And there's really even the weird sex doll, Be My Girl Sally kind of, normally I hate the sort of talking interludes, but I think it works on this. I think it's got that bratty kind of brash, just whatever, throw it against the wall. I think it really works. It's them at their least kind of pretentious, I think, which definitely plays in their favor because I do think they kind of veer into that territory, especially towards the end. But there's none of that here. It's just straight up kind of new wave punk rock, and I really dig it.
All right. Well, my number 1 is also Outlandos de Amor. Started with this one. I went chronologically, and I thought I was in for maybe a treat, and it turned out I was starting at the peak and heading down the mountain. I do like a lot of the songs on this. I think the playing is kind of cool. Stuart Copeland playing more aggressively on this record than usual, really pushing the songs along. And they're doing sort of like this sort of punky, new wave, herky-jerky, kind of like early XTC or even like early Squeeze. I think the one flaw of this record is Sting doesn't quite have the personality to pull off these sort of more eccentric type of songs. So in a way, I understand them going in the direction they went because it kind of suits his singing more, except unfortunately for me, I don't like that style of music. But I like a good bit of these songs. I think they're pretty good. I don't think every track works, but it's a pretty solid and enjoyable record. I liked it.
Good. I didn't think we would get you to say I liked it about anything, so I'll take that as a W.
So those are our lists of the Police. Hopefully I didn't hurt anyone's feelings too badly. I'm probably going to get bombarded with how great Stuart Copeland is in the comments.
As you should.
Not discounting him as a player. I know he's great, but just not my cup of tea. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications. Check back tomorrow for our top 10 songs of the Police. I'm sure to be an interesting discussion, and we will see you there.